Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the transfer show back after not being here last week because we were on a coach for about 4 million days. It still hasn't kicked up massively since the last show we did.
I'm disappointed.
But there's been a couple of deals that have caught my eye, mainly because I want Everton to sign a centre forward, and a couple of teams have done that. You know, there's a couple of weeks to go till the transfer window closes now, so I'd expect it if it's got to kick off really, hasn't it? Otherwise,
You would think so.
Otherwise, it won't. We'll begin at Newcastle. They've just signed Joe Linton for £40 million, Brazilian striker, Hoffenheim. Looks all right.
One and three striker, isn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah. He's not prolific, but he's got good, good strength about him. Big lad, good movement. And I suppose with them losing Solomon Rondon and Perez has gone obviously to Leicester. They needed a focal point, didn't he? And obviously got Steve Bruce in there now, which is delighted the Geordies. But that's a good start for him, I suppose, to get he took the number 9 shirt as well. Iconic number 9 shirt for Newcastle. I suppose it's it's an unknown, isn't it? We don't know whether, 1 and 3 in Germany is not amazing, but he is a useful player.
I suppose if he has got similar traits to Rondon, then that'll help the team, won't it? He looks a big, strong, athletic kind of player. He might, I know he's saying 1 and 3, is he 22?
23, I think.
Is he?
Yeah, he's only young.
He's only young, so he's got plenty of time to get better over the course of a season. So, I mean, it's big money for them, isn't it? I mean, 40 million now, it's not, I mean, when you think about, that's their record deal, but when you think about, he's still practically an unknown coming from Hoffenheim. It'll be interesting. Listen, there's a few of these deals that you look at them and go, that could be the one. Then in 12 months' time, you're going, oh, I wish we got him. I wish we got him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's funny because the last time I sort of felt like that was with Richarlison. I wish we'd got him when he went to Watford, and then we ended up getting him.
But they've got Almer on as well to come back. He got injured, didn't he? But they've got him to come back, spent 20 million on him. He was the record deal, I think.
He was, yeah.
In January, so they've spent some money. Is it a bit mad that Benitez wanted money, apparently, and Mike Ashley said, couldn't guarantee him it, and then they've gone and spent 40 million?
But I suppose, though, I mean, they've bought they didn't get Rondon, and they sold Perez for 30 million. So, and I know it's not real maths, but, they've spent an extra £10 million on this player. Benitez, I suppose, wanted to know that maybe players weren't going to get sold, and what's
still have money.
What's the 5-year plan or whatever.
Yeah.
Steve Bruce isn't going to be too bothered by that, is he? And no, it'll be an interesting one. That.
Yeah, he could be right. He could be one a few clubs look at and go, he should have took a gamble on it. It could go the other way, of course.
But that's the thing, isn't it, though? For £40 million, if it doesn't go the way they want it to go, and he doesn't score a lot of goals, and he doesn't attract attention from elsewhere, then will he make the money back on it? That's one of those things, isn't it? There's a lot of players. There's a lot of players out there that clubs will spend big money on, but because they think, well, we'll double our monies. But they may think the same for this player. They may think, well, no matter what, in 2 years' time, we'll make money on this player. So we'll see what happens.
Fair play. Another one of the strikers has gone one we quite like the look of. Seb Haller was joined West Ham for 36 million. He had a quite liked him at Everton. He's done very well for Frankfurt in Germany. Obviously, he was with Jovic, who was very good, and a lot of people are saying he's not going to be the same player without Jovic. But you can only take the chance from another young striker. I think he's 23, 24, French striker. Good size about him, good movement, decent pace. So good investment for West Ham as well.
Yeah, and they are this new kind of striker, aren't they? This player who can play in the middle on their own, fast, get good in the air, strong. But it's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, Haller's a very good player, and they've paid a lot of money for him. I'm probably paying a lot for his wages as well. Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because as Evertonians are sitting here going, "Oh, would have loved that." And you look at the goal scoring records, certainly of Joe Linton, and you think, how far is Dominic Calvert-Lewin actually away from that? From being a 1-in-3 striker. Like if he became a 1-in-3 striker this season, let's just say, because he plays enough games, then do we sometimes, I'm not just saying about...
I know what you're going to say.
No, not just about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but do we sometimes look at other players with envious eyes when we've got a similar player or a better player already at our club, but we can't recognise the fact that they're that kind of player? Do you know what I mean? Everyone, it's like the deadline day phenomenon, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like deadline day. Everyone's doing business and you're not doing any. You feel bad, but you might have signed 6 quality players, but it's that envious eye that you're not involved in this thing that is a load of nonsense anyway. And I'm not saying Dominic Calvert-Lewin is better than either of those players at all. And you know, Seb Haller is a tremendous talent, but it'll just be interesting to see by the end of the season, you know, what, maybe not Dom, but Richarlison, how many Richarlison gets in comparison to these two, and then weigh up, well, and I know we brought Richarlison in for around 40 million anyway, but it'll just be interesting to see those comparisons at the end of the season. You know, I think we do. I think when people buy players, you always look with envious eyes at, oh, I wish we'd got that, and or why weren't we in for the running for that? And that's sometimes what can be annoying. So
I think you're right. I think when you see players, you can't recognise your own players sometimes, and you're looking at others, and we all have fallen into this trap of wanting something new. You know, it's like it's the same thing with like players who don't play. Get better. Yeah. Don't they? We're seeing, talking of transfers, we're seeing with Adam Ola-Luckman now, he's about to sign for Red Bull Leipzig. That's going to be completed. And just if you read some people on social media, this player is basically the best winger in the Premier League who can't get into Everton's team because he hasn't played. And yet the reality is, this is a lad that scored on his debut 2.5 years ago and hasn't scored a Premier League goal since. Okay, he hasn't been given a run of games, and I get that. It's a lad full of ability. I get that as well. But if he doesn't perform well enough to get in the team, then why does he deserve to get in the team? Why does he get better? And these players are the same. You're absolutely right. People were saying at the end of the season, if we could just get a 15-goal-a-season striker. Well, Richarlison got 15.
Yeah.
So if we had Richarlison and we had it's almost under our eyes. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Under our nose, rather. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I agree, I'm not saying he's as good as these two strikers, you know, but this is a lad who's got better each year he's played in the Premier League. He's still only a couple of years into his Everton career, really, 2 or 3 years in. Yeah. If he got 8 goals overall last year, which isn't great, but again, didn't play loads. If he could get 10 goals, double figures, 10 to 12, and you add Richarlison with that and Sigurdsson, then it makes him, because he's got everything that these have got. He's quick, he's good in the air, he works hard. It's just got to add the goals, you know. And there's no guarantee these will come in and get double figures anyway. Out the two, I would say Haller would be more likely, because I do think Haller's a good player, and West Ham are trying to do good bits of business to try and improve them. But they have lost. They're another team. They've lost Arnautovic. They've lost Andy Carroll, if you class him as a loss. I don't know.
But wages-wise,
wages-wise. And then you've got also Chicharito going out the door as well. So I know the Haller turning down the first time they've gone back with a big offer to get him because they felt like they needed him. But he'll be interesting to watch. This one caught me eye this morning. Aston Villa have signed Trezeguet, the Egyptian winger. He's been linked with Everton a few times. But Aston Villa have spent almost £100 million and are trying to finish the deal with Douglas Lewis from Man City for 15 million. So they've bought 9 players, I think. Some are good. You look at some of them and go, they're good. But the caution I would exercise is Fulham last year. Yeah. But they do look like they've bought like Tyrone Mings, who they had last year. They know what they're getting with him. Got to be careful, haven't they, not to go too much the other way, because trying to learn on the job in the Premier League puts you at a disadvantage, doesn't it?
I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago. It's for a club that nearly went out of business last year, like hours away from going out of business. This feels very uncomfortable. Listen, they're getting the money. They've got every right to spend the money. If they're on a good financial footing, that's fine. But it does feel just a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's not. It's not like like Southampton, where ended up being in the League One and took the 10-point, and all that kind of thing. Went into administration. It was because the last guy hadn't put the money in. So they've decided to go this way. They've decided to compete. Listen, if they learn the lessons that Fulham made, Fulham decided not to defend. Yeah. If they get away from that, then, and obviously they've brought but the likes of Mings, who from last season, which is really important. They've obviously identified that that they need to be stronger in other places. I think if they get the balance right of giving people who got them up a chance and then bringing new players in where they feel like they need them. Fulham, for me, just ripped everything up and started again, which was idiotic. Yeah. Of all when Wolves came up and added a couple, Cardiff added very few, and in the end, Wolves obviously ended up 7th place. But between Fulham and Cardiff, obviously, there was very little between them, even though they'd done it in completely different ways. So I think it's about getting up and then learning, like you just learning quickly on the job. I think that's what Wolves did last season. They learned pretty quickly what the level was, and they adapted to it. That's what Villa have to do. If they're going to stay up, definitely. Yeah, I mean, they've got the likes of John Terry there, so he should be well versed in the defensive side of it. But they've lost Tammy Abraham. He scored 25 goals for them. They've bought Wesley for 22 million. You don't know whether he's going to be good or not. So a few of them are gambles. Trezeguet looks a good player, looks direct, can score goals, but they're going to have to, how they piece it together will be interesting. But they're clearly saying, we've got a bit of money this summer, let's spend it and see what we do. And we might, if we can stay up, because I'm sure that'll be the aim this year, to try and remain in. And it's difficult as well to say, it really is difficult in this market to make a judgment, because we're talking about Newcastle signing players for £40 million. To get to £100 million doesn't take much these days. It really doesn't. Mings was 26 million. Player who's barely played in the Premier League. It doesn't take much nowadays. Even from last summer, Fulham probably would have got 8-9 players for that. Where Villa's probably got 4 or 5. But they've only bought Trezeguet's only cost them 8.75 million. So he's an Egyptian international, scored in the African nations. So for that kind of money, that's seen a few of them not in the Premier League. No, there is. He's a gamble. But they brought El Ghazi, they bought in as well. He was on loan. He was on loan last season as well. So there's a couple of players were there last season, so they'll fit. There is a bit of familiarity there. So it's just that the money's just nuts, isn't it? It's there's no value. You see, there's the thing, isn't it? They bought Trezeguet from Turkey for under £9 million, an international winger who's 24 years of age, and you go into the Premier League or the Championship and 8-9 million gets you nothing. And you're like, we're trying to move away from, this is what the problem was with the English premium. That's why a lot of people went and bought foreign players who weren't as good as what some of these were, but you could get them a lot cheaper. And that balance has got to be there, because football clubs can't continue. I think we're heading for an impasse, I really do. We can't continue to spend this kind of money. I don't think so anyway. No. But on to Chelsea, who can't spend any money apparently this summer on players in anyway. Hudson-Odoi signed a new contract for 100 grand a week. A lad that's played a handful of and is injured for about 6 months. And he's still injured. Obviously, big interest from Bayern Munich. They still wanted to buy him. Well, they said they'd pulled their interest on the injury. So that's what the German side are saying. Right, okay, but 100 grand a week for a handful of games. This is the problem. Is that the wages and the fees are just going up at such ridiculous. I know we say this all the time, but it can't last. It just can't last like this. And I honestly think we're coming to a situation now where at some point transfer fees are just going to go. Yeah. I think contracts are going to be like 7 years, 8 years, and you're going to have to buy out. I mean, I think pretty much the American way of doing things is I think, is you sign a contract for a length of time. The player is on a massive amount of money, and then he can be bought out of that contract for what is left on the contract. So therefore, the higher his wage, the more value he is to the club. Right. If that makes sense. I think that's how it works. So if someone's on £250,000 a week, and he's still got 5 years left on his deal, that's a lot of money.
250 million.
That's a lot of money. It'll balance itself out that way. So because at the moment the way
250 million. I'm doing Bale. I'm doing Gareth Bale, $1 million a week. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Oh, hang on, million. So it's like, what, 5 years, till 67. It's like 80 odd million, isn't it?
So you look at it that way and you say, that sort of makes more sense, because you've got the player tied down to the contract, but for longer. He's getting good money. And
60 million. Early morning.
And if someone wants to buy them, they have to pay that money.
And then the club doesn't, theoretically, lose anything, because if you're taking them, then that wages have gone anyway, has it? But then how did he make money on players? But then again, how did he?
Well, yeah, but how did he make? We're not making.
Really,
but no, we're not making money on players now anyway, because it's not. It's not. If I sell you for 40 million and I have to replace you with someone for 40 million,
there's no money.
No money anyway.
And he might be on more than that.
So really, we all want the players to have value, so that it feels like that. Well, if we lose a player, we're getting something. But if the players are basically locked into contracts, which in the American style of things, they basically are. I know there's different ways you're getting out of it. And then, listen, in the NFL, they can get rid of you.
Well, the power's with the club,
They can get rid of you. Your contract's huge, but also there's so many bonuses in it. I mean, I've been watching, these documentaries about the NFL for a while, and it's got to get me bonus, got to get so many things, and I get me $1 million bonus, or, lads, we've got to get to the playoffs, because then we all get our bonuses. It's an incentivized system. The football, it's not now.
Would you scrap transfer fees then?
I would, yeah. Honestly, I think.
I know that the other lot, FSG, because they're from an American thing anyway, and I know was it the Swansea ones, or there's another American investors can't get their head round transfer fees. Liverpool didn't. That's why they didn't want to spend money.
Because I think the reason why is it's hard to I know we're all on one system now, but it's like you're doubly paying. Yeah. If that makes sense, you're doubly paying. I was just
gonna say the same thing. You're paying twice.
You're doubly paying, and really, but who puts a value on a player?
Yeah.
Well,
there's no market, is there? There's no. It's like we're talking here. Joe Linton's got 1 goal in every 3 games, right? And he looks a good prospect and all that. But why is he £40 million? Well, he's £40 million because Hoffenheim are going, well, if you want him, we want $40 million for him.
I suppose the only problem with it, and this is not an only problem. This is not a little problem. This is a big problem. Is I would think again, the salary cap in America means that that's the only problem, because, and this is the thing that would probably stop it in the short term. Maybe in the long term it could be looked at. But if you've got a salary cap, of course everyone's on an equal footing. But if you're Man United, you're Man City, you're Liverpool, you're Paris Saint-Germain, you're any of the big Champions League clubs, if you've got a bigger pot to come from. But I suppose again that's where FFP it's where FFP comes in. Yeah. But if you've got a bigger pot of money, which you will have because you make more money, then you can offer more money and you can tie players into deals for longer.
Better deals.
But I think the idea is essentially, well, I will pay you what you're worth, your value. And therefore, if it comes to a point that you're going to leave the club, we'll get your value back. And that's your value. And what that means as well is that players who are not as good as other players will not be earning stupid money either. Because the value, you would look at it and go, well, hang on, he's brilliant, he's on that much. He's not so good that he's on that much. And the scale would be a lot fairer. Whereas at the moment, it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess, isn't it? At the moment, players are worth, whatever. What you sign a contract, You're on £100,000 before you're 20. That shouldn't be the way it is. And I think...
I don't know how you'd get a grip of it, though. They'd all have to come together, wouldn't they? I don't know.
That is the problem, is that it would be like, well, we need a date. And by this date, everyone's got to be on the... You'd almost have to say to, like, world football, right, we're having a date.
A reset date.
And it would have to be like, 10 years in the future or whatever the longest contract is. And you'd almost have to say to every club, right, no one's allowed to sign for your club now with a contract that's longer than this date, because from this date, I mean, listen, it'll probably never happen theoretically, but I honestly think that's a fair...
Something has to happen, because it does just feel as though, it's like you get £100 million and you go, my God, we could buy half a team with that, and it's 2-3 players maximum now that are good value, and it's like Rafael Leao, who's been touted around, and Everton have been linked with him, another club, Wolves are linked with him lately. He walked out of his contract at Sporting Lisbon a year ago because obviously what went on. Yeah. Fair enough, a few players did. They got him for nothing, Lille, and now they want 40 million for him, and he scored 8 goals. So you're like, how's he 40 million? I know you don't want to lose him, and he's a good player, but how is he 40 million? If he had 40 goals this season, fair enough. But what about this then? What about FIFA introduce every club, for every player in every club has to have a buyout clause? Would that be fairer in the system we have at the moment? How would you get the scale of that though? Because everyone...
I think... What if it's determined by what their contract is? Okay. So a percentage of whatever they earn a year equaled over whatever the contract length is. And that could be the buyout clause.
So like 50 grand a week. So if he's got 4 years left, you've still got to pay.
Someone would come up. I just think you could come up with a scale. Yeah. What I mean is that there's got to be a definite scale to what someone's value is, and that value can only be determined by what you're paying him. Because otherwise, if I'm paying you 10 grand a week, then I don't think you're that good a player. But if he comes calling for you and you go 40 million, then how's that fair? How's that fair to the player as well? Because the player's like, hang on, I'm in a contract for 5 more years. I'm only on 10 grand a week. He's on 90. He's on 100. And yeah, it's almost like a repeat of the Bosman, isn't it? It's like the Bosman was, well, you're out of contract, but you can't go anywhere because we've got you and you have to be sold. Bosman said, hang on, if I'm out of contract, I can go anywhere I want. You can't stop me. You don't employ me anymore, so therefore I can walk out. I think it could happen again almost, where it's like, well, what I earn doesn't match my... This is why but this is why we always say, well, if Ghana doesn't get sold this summer, will he get a new contract? Of course he will. The club will have to say to him, if we think you're more than they offered. And then the player goes, hang on, you only pay me this amount, so you value me at this, but you're only paying me this. So the club would have to go. It's like last season, Maguire they knocked back 60, 70 million for him. They give him a new contract. That's your reward, son. Yeah. We value at this, so that's why you're getting that much money. So I think that there's got to be a scale where those two things come together. Yeah. A lot cleverer people than me will try and work it out, and there'll be some kind of crazy equation. But I honestly... Algorithm, get the algorithm. But I honestly feel like those two things have got to happen listen, whatever the fee is what is the fee. But it's got to be in relation to how good they are a player. Because I hear it now with Lookman. Oh, Lookman's worth 25 million. He's only worth 25 million because somebody else has got sold for 25 million. That's it. There's no other valuation.
I seen something yesterday, like sack Brands, if he doesn't get more than 20 million for him, and you're like, you do realise that if you've got one club after you and no one else wants you, and you want to go to that club, the selling club's hand is not very strong.
We got Andre Gomez on for the same reason. Exactly the same reason. So and I think that's we are still trying to play we as a club are almost like trying to be honourable in that way. Almost like, well, you did us a favour, we'll do you a favour, and hopefully someone else with that favour will come back. Doesn't always work like that.
You've got to
But I look at clubs like City and I think, well, City aren't out there trying to... I think when City bought Stones, they blew the market wide open. They when they paid that 50 million, they blew that market straight open. And I think ever since then they've been saying, no, we're going to pay the
only one I think they've overpaid for is Mahrez. I think everybody else, I think I agree with you. They haven't been ridiculous with it. But I think Stones was mad, but they wanted him and he had a long contract, so fair enough. Maybe that's what you're hinting at with that, what could happen in the future. But it's difficult because you're right. I've often thought that there's no value in transfer fees because you get it and it goes to someone else. It's mad. I don't know whether clubs would be better off just having to pay better wages.
But if you listen to John when he does his podcast, and you listen to how they break it down. The transfer fee doesn't actually mean anything on the books of a football club. No. Once you pay a fee, it's gone. It's gone. It's done. It's on your books. It's the wage. It's the wage. It's what is left on. It's what's left on the contract is what that play is worth, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's not what you paid or what someone else paid. It's what's left, and that's what I'm saying. At some point, when people go, contract's not worth there's a paper written on. Well, let's make the contract mean something like a dozen other contract in other countries. Let's make it worth something because everyone will benefit out of that. The player will get more money.
Yeah.
But then the club will say, well, as I said,
it's about value.
It's about value, and you will be valued for what you're worth. No, there'll be no stupid transfer fees. The player will get what he deserves, and not because he's bloody Jesse Lingard.
Yeah.
And the scale will be fairer, and I honestly think that's the way forward. Could it ever be implemented? I think it can be on some level. Maybe not on the level of, they do in America with free agents and all that kind of thing. But I do think it can work. It's just about maybe, and as I said, maybe buyout clauses is the way for everybody. The Spanish insist on it, and it doesn't always mean that's what a play goes for. We've seen that with Gomez.
Yeah.
But I think that's how we go in the future. Otherwise, it has to break. And I tell you, one of the reasons why it has to break is because the TV market is getting so fragmented. We're getting to a point now where the TV market is getting so it's spiraling into all kinds of places. And on one hand, that's really good. But on another hand, you're not telling me that in 3 years' time, you're going to be prepared to get Sky, BT, Amazon, YouTube, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. It's as simple as that. Choice is great, but there comes to a point where people just go, I can't pay £9 a month for that, and that.
So then, with all that taken into account, then is there a possibility that the transfer market will slow down this summer? Then, so players won't. Not as many players will leave.
We honestly thought this window was going to explode, and it hasn't. And the reason it hasn't is quite simple. The people at the top can't get rid of their dross to bring in better players. So actually, this summer, I think, is the first summer we've really seen FFP come into effect.
Yeah, I'd agree. So far, certainly.
You've got people
it's like Newcastle, like we've just talked about. Joe Linton moved Perez on, and then got Thingy in, and West Ham have got Carroll out and all that, and then we've got a bit more money in the wage bill to get him, and that's why it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like Everton. You talk about Everton, you go, well, have they got money ready to spend? Well, yeah, but if you haven't got wages ready to, you're trying to manoeuvre things, and obviously you're always going against a 3-year loss period, aren't you? So they're having to manage that. Other clubs are doing the same. Liverpool haven't. I know Liverpool haven't bought a player.
Maybe this is why it's going to go right to the wire, and this is why Sky Sports are going to be able to have their deadline day. It's because we're going to get a fire sale at the end. We are really going to get a big fire sale, and you look at it, right. Man United haven't shifted anyone and can't shift anyone.
Yeah.
Who've Liverpool got left to shift? Lallana. Well, he's got a terrible injury record. So who else have they got to shift? No one. Sturridge is gone. So there's no one else left to shift.
He's just signed a new deal, hasn't he? So.
City, there's a couple. Delph's gone and this Brazilian kid's but he doesn't want to lose too many because he's got the squad he wants. There's not that much natural wastage at City because they're all of a good age. Arsenal, again, who wants any of their place? Chelsea got a transfer ban. Spurs, I've got rid of a couple.
Jansen's gone.
Yeah, he's gone to Mexico. Yeah, and again, though, there's not loads of natural wastage. Of the other clubs, Barcelona desperate to get rid of the likes of Malcolm, but they're asking for 55 million.
City.
If Everton want him, they're going to go in the last week and go, well, we'll give you 25 for him. Real Madrid have brought Hazard in a huge money, but can't get rid of anyone else. No. So they're stuck now.
Well, they're stuck with Bale, who scored last night.
Yeah, he did. Paris Saint-Germain.
Well, they took Neymar to Japan.
Well, they will do, won't they?
Or China, wherever. It's one of them two. He's gone. But they know he's going to
go.
But
Barcelona...
They can't shift.
Can you tell me Neymar's going to go to Barcelona now? Because I'd
say that. The thing with them, though, they've got 4 weeks left, haven't they?
Yeah, that's the difference.
They've got slightly longer, but still, if they can't move their players, Barca...
But Barca got Griezmann.
They will fire sale.
They got Griezmann in. And and clearly they wait, because the argument for Griezmann is they waited, didn't he, till after July the 1st.
Yeah.
And Atletico Madrid are saying, no, there was an already agreement in place, so you owe us. They're saying there was already an agreement with the player before the 1st of July. Oh, okay. So therefore they owe Atletico Madrid another 80 million euros. 80, because that was in the contract. They're saying it was already agreed, so therefore that's in the contract.
So they're having that battle now.
So they're going to have that battle in court, whether it goes to court. It probably won't. Barcelona will get it sorted.
Yeah.
Well, they will, won't they? And so it almost feels like... It proves...
It's a mess, isn't it?
It is a mess. It's an absolute mess. Who's bought... Apart from Juventus, who's what's happening in Italy?
No, not
There's
many.
Nothing happening.
Not many have gone.
Icardi's
still not got to Inter. To Juve.
Yeah.
Inter, United have given Inter an ultimatum now for
Lukaku
because they're going, well, what's going on? Because obviously United need him out.
Juventus, obviously, to bring money in, looking at maybe people like to get rid of Moise Kean, and if Everton are looking at him or whoever else are looking at him, they're going, we'll wait.
We can wait.
We'll wait a couple of weeks. We'll wait a week and a half till this price goes down by 10 million.
Because they mightn't get the money of Premier League.
This is going to be the greatest game of poker ever.
They won't get the money a Premier League club will pay in Europe. They won't, will they?
No.
Juventus could get 35 million off Everton for Moise Kean. Whereas Ajax wanted them, and Ajax apparently said they wouldn't pay more than 25 for them.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, as I said, the big clubs are just... You know, Bayern Munich brought a couple of full-backs in, didn't he?
Yeah.
But the French lad in, and from Stuttgart, and they brought the other one from Atletico Madrid in.
Hernandez, was it?
And it's... And they've got players to replace.
Dortmund have done the most, haven't they? They bought quite a few attacking players in, but it does feel like it's just gone. It is. It's weird because you keep going, it started, and then it slows again, and you're like, why? And it is, when you look around, it is because clubs can't get rid of these players. No. There's players sat around.
Bale's the interesting one, isn't he? Because there was pictures that he was, in China, which he obviously wasn't.
No.
And people talking about $1 million a week, but what I don't get about Bale is he's 30, he's at Real Madrid, he's still got a few years left, and I know principle is dig your feet in, but wouldn't he be better just saying, I want to play football, I'm prepared to take...
I wonder where he wants to go though, because if he likes it at Madrid, and he's thinking, well, you give me a big why am I getting forced out? But he scored last night. I watched them last night. He come on at half time against Arsenal. Arsenal winning 2-0. He come on and scored straight away. Yeah. And he scored twice, actually, Madrid in about 3 minutes. And he was all right. He was lively. But Zidane said after the game, doesn't change anything. Still, my position's unchanged. We want him to go.
Yeah.
And they are being a little bit disrespectful to him because his numbers are unbelievable. It's like 1 in 2 he's got. He scored over 100 goals in 200 games for them. He's won 4 Champions Leagues. He's won all sorts with them. But for him, who's going to buy him at 30, like you said, or he's just about to be 30 if he isn't already? His injury record, he gets injured.
Yeah, he gets a lot of muscle injuries, doesn't he?
So you look at him and go, well, who's going to pay him in, say, the Premier League, or even Italy? Who's going to pay him 200 grand a week? He's on something like 400 grand a week or something, Real Madrid or whatever, or if it's not more. Who's going to pay him £200,000 a week to come here with the worry that he could just get an injury,
he could break down
and be out for months? And then you've got like someone like Everton who would you could say to me, he'll come for 2 years and he'll play 30 games a season for you. I'd say he's worth 200 grand a week. Go and pay it, whatever. Because having him up front, score, because he knows where the net. He scores every year, goals. But imagine getting him, and in October he breaks down, and he's out for 6 months, and you're like, that's 200 grand a week, and then trying to move him on. Then we're already seeing it with some of the players we've got, and you're going, well, no one wants him.
As I said, I mean, this is why the whole thing needs to be looked at, because it's. Totally. But even if it was looked at, what's he got left on a contract?
City's trying to
answer the question.
City's fuming.
What's he got left on a contract? 2 years, a year?
2, I think.
So he's on 2. So he's on 2. He's got 2. He's on £400,000 a week.
So that's 1.6 million.
1.6 million.
So it's what, 12 and then
35 million.
35 million his contract's worth.
35 million.
That's what his contract's worth. And then you're trying to put a transfer fee on top of that.
But that is his transfer fee.
Well,
I know.
But it should be.
That's what I'm saying.
But Real Madrid won't give him.
But that's what I'm saying. In the system I'm talking about, that is his transfer. That would be his transfer fee. He'd be £35 million worth now, and the new club would have to pick up his wages. That's what I'm saying. That's what the system I'd do. That's the way I'd look at it.
So how different's that then?
Because there's real value in it, Baz. Because I know what I'm saying.
The buying club, there's no.
But there is though, because at the end of the day, right? When I give you a contract, right, it's got to be for Bale. Bale is one of those top players. Problem is his age. But if you think about it like that, when you give that contract to someone, you've got to work out what they'd be worth in the market within 2-3 years, and you could maybe factor all those things in, right? I'm giving you're 27. I'm giving you a 5-year contract, but when you get into 3 years and you get to 30, your value decreases massively. So therefore, I've got to alter the contract in year 4 and 5.
You're getting less money,
and then therefore you get less money. So therefore, your sell-on value is worth less as well.
As we go on.
So you can get out of the club easier. I mean, your contract would be less anyway. Your value would be less anyway, because for every year you're into the contract, your wage, what you've got left on the wages as well. And that's what I'm saying. There's value in that, because I just don't see in the market at the moment how one player can be 40 million and another player can be 20 million. Surely
you're talking about what he's worth, what he's really worth.
And therefore that's what I'm saying. Therefore, shy players won't be worth.
Unless you give them stupid contracts.
But why would you give them a stupid contract if they're not worth it? Because they're
haven't we?
I know, that's the point. What is the value of that player to you right now? Everton buy a player or Everton have a young kid coming through, right? And they're like, well, he might be all right, he might be not. We'll give him 10 grand a week. So that the value of his contract in 3 years is whatever it is left. It's not massive. It's not massive.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So, all right, young players are different, but older players, you can't be given. If we did the system I'm talking about, right? Kevin Morales would have very little on his contract now in terms of what his wages are, and he'd have very, very little on his value. So therefore, no matter where he went at like a 30, nobody's going to give him a really big contract. So he'd have to work harder as well. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what
we
you're saying.
We would not have a struggle of getting rid of 30-year-olds because their contracts wouldn't be worth as much, so therefore their values wouldn't be stupid, and they wouldn't be sitting on big wages, and they couldn't ask the next club for big wages because the value is with they're getting paid well, but it's all on a pay scale, and I think that's what we're missing right now.
I still think thingy contracts as well. Like if I'm buying you, and I want to, you're going to play, it's $100,000.
Yeah, well, there you go.
If you don't play, it's $50,000.
Well, it's incentivised again.
Then that to me is what has to come in, because then if I'm Morgan Schneidlin, for argument's sake, and I'm at Everton and I'm looking going, I'm not going to play it. You know, I want $100,000 a week, and yet I'm not going to play. I can go there and get $75,000 a week and play. It makes them think. Whereas if I'm getting $100,000 a week, whether I kick a ball for you or not, where's the incentive for me to train harder? Where's the incentive for me? It's like Lookman, isn't it? Yeah. Ademola Lookman, listen, say he's on $30,000 a week, right? He's on $30,000 a week, whether he plays a minute for Everton or he plays. I know they get a bonus, which on top of their wages, but say Ademola Lookman gets $15,000 a week if he doesn't play, but if he plays, he gets $30,000 a week. He's going to put everything in to getting $30,000 a week, surely, because he wants to play. So you're getting double. You're getting double the effort and the work rate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly think
big bonuses is where
I honestly think but also being able to say to someone in the last year of a deal, like you can go. You can go. We don't pay you nothing, but you can go.
You can go
and
get yourself a better contract or whatever. That was mad. That wasn't even planned. That just come from Hudson-Odoi with no leg, getting $100,000 a week. Just very quickly on Chelsea, they beat Barca 2-1. Ross Barkley, Tammy Abraham, not a cat. Tammy Abraham scoring the goals. Lampard looks as though he's going to just try to build a team with the kids, doesn't he? And with the kids, like Ross Barkley's 25, with a younger team, and mould that and try to go with that. Looks like, doesn't it?
He has got plenty of senior players, though, hasn't he? As well?
Oh, he has, but probably going to have to rely on.
Play to him. I mean, listen.
They've got Batshuayi as well. You know, they've got lads. I'm not saying he's great, but for a couple.
I think they've got a good mix. David Luiz has Luqueta. They've got Giroud still there.
And Giroud.
They've got a good mix. William as well. Yeah. He's been given Hazard's shirt.
If they click, they could be all right. They could be a good side.
Squad. But I don't. Listen, they're miles off winning the league.
Yeah, but they're not
top four. Definitely.
They're well in the race, aren't they? Interesting. We talked about Bale. Do you think he'll go anywhere?
No, I
don't.
Do
you think he'll just sit
unless it's China? And I don't even know if he'll go.
Why would he go to China? No.
Money!
No. Surely he's got the money. Why would you?
The root of all evil.
It's bizarre. If I was him, I'd go to the States rather than China. He's never going to get anywhere near that in America. But why would you want to play in China? Inter Milan, Romelu Lukaku briefly mentioned it in there. Do you see that coming to a resolution? Because I thought that was going to happen. I hope it does, because Everton get a bit of money from it. But he's not playing, is he? For United?
I think it's going to be. I do think it's going to come down to the last week, and I think it's going to be a domino effect. We may be involved in that domino effect. Also, if we buy Moise Kean and they buy a Cardi, and then Inter buy Lukaku, we get $5 million off Moise Kean. Effectively. And
us getting Ken out the door means Juve can get the Cardi in, which means
that's what I'm saying. So
it's us.
We'll get our bonus off Lukaku if he gets sold. So we get $5 million knocked off. So, but it does feel at the moment there's a lot of ducks to get in a row, and it don't. People
feels like someone needs to light the blue touch paper.
No one wants to. I mean, even the Maguire thing still
bubbling on. Playing and
scored, didn't he?
Scored, yeah, he scored. So we'll have to see. Nabil Fekir signed for Real Betis. Did that surprise you?
His name must be absolutely.
Well, he's lost £23 million in value from last summer.
His name must be just. Yeah, honestly, it must be cottage cheese. Yeah. It must be, mustn't it? Yeah. Because Liverpool
had them in the kit.
We all know they had them in the kit, they had the pitches, they had them all ready to go.
And then
they obviously got the medical back and just went,
Nope.
There's a small man living in his knee or something. It must be really bad.
Yeah,
for him to go to
Real
Betis.
Well, that's mad, isn't it? No. I know they've got a few quid, but they're not exactly... From going to a team that ended up European champions to going to...
A lot of good teams. I mean, and I tell you as well, we were linked with them, and people were just laughing their heads off. Early in the year, we were getting linked with them, and people were like, behave yourself. And it's like, well, really, if we'd wanted them, we probably would have got him now. But I mean, if his knees made the cheese...
Medical, no chance. Very, very surprising. Very surprising. And just finally on Liverpool and City, think they'll do any more business? Think City will?
No, I don't think either of them will do any. I don't.
Do you not think Liverpool? I think Liverpool might get Bruno Fernandes. He's still bouncing around once he comes to England.
Can't see it. I don't think there's any value out there. I just don't think there's anyone out there that makes either team better. I think they're just gonna go right. We're gonna go for it this season with what we've got. We've got good squads.
They both have got good squads.
No one else is buying to improve. And who would how did Liverpool top 95 points in a European Cup? 97. So yeah. You are literally, if Liverpool do that again, then again they're going to come very close.
Yeah.
And it's going to be literally in the hands of a few little things that they might have put right from last season. So in terms of the
difficult for them to be able to improve what they've got without buying someone like Messi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really. So
yeah,
interesting to see whether they do anything. That's it. That is it for this week. Let's hope next time we do it, the explosion has happened and we can talk about lots of moves. But Ted might be right. Sky are salivating at the thought of
ironing the yellow ties.
They might just have all yellow suits. Might just go full yellow because it might explode this. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Are you surprised how slow the market is, or are you just, like Ped said, is FFP really feeling the pinch this year? Is it getting into every team and people are struggling to move players out? Because that's what it looks like. Let us know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching or listening if you're listening on the podcast, which again, Ped sorted. See you later.